got the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game. 5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Rick Watson's got the mic, he's the big dog king. Cover sports so sharp, it's a New River thing. Virginia Tech fire, rapid pride too. Every stat, every play, he's bringing it to you. He's got that voice, deep as a valley, breaking it down, no dilly, no dally. Big dog sports talk, feel the bark. He's got the scoop, faster than a sprint. Calling plays like a coach, every word's a hint. From the courts to the fields, the stories unfold. Rick's play-by-play, worth its weight in gold. With a laugh and a growl, he'll pull you in. Big Dog's podcast, let the games begin. Big Dog Sports Talk, feel the bark.
Hey, good morning. How's everybody doing here? What is it? It's Tuesday. Oh, yeah. Keith says hello Tuesday. How silly of me. Huh. Coming up today, we got Marvin, Miami. Good morning, Stephen. Good morning. For me, this isn't Friday yet. T-Bird's got 40 with Frost. Let's see what we got here, T-Bird. 41. I got you, T-Bird. 68 today, but yes, you're right. 80s definitely on the way here soon. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody slept well. The key to today is getting a decent night's sleep. I don't know how many hours that entails for you. Depends. I don't get enough sleep, but that's okay. That's okay. We got a lot going on today. Marva in Miami will join us coming up at 6:40, 6:45. Brian Siegel from the Boundary Corner will join us, the podcast. Truth Harris scheduled to join us. Former Radford Highlander, finished his season. We followed his coach, Darius Nichols, from Radford to LaSalle. And Truth is a terrific young man, and he's going to be playing overseas. I got to know him well while he was here. He interned with us in our TV production crew. And we're going to talk about his journey and what he faced. And kind of, first of all, I want to catch up to him personally because he's a great kid. But I want to kind of get his experience because I know it helps me to kind of know, even though his is not at the major Power Four, collecting seven figures era. I want to talk to Truth about his journey a little bit. And he has his own podcast. He'll be good. You don't want to miss that. We don't want to miss that. 7:30, and then Mike Byrne up here today. So we got a lot going on here on the program. And we're glad to have you with us here from our Family Fencing Studios here in Rhino. Hit us up on the Professional Door text line, 391-0788. And also hit us up with our McClellan Chiropractic chat. Chat is great. We appreciate everybody in chat. Yeah, cold. What do we have? Let's see here. The 80s, as T-Bird saying, is coming. Now, it's going to hit the weekend. Supposed to rain all weekend. But cold again on Thursday. Please like, subscribe, and share to the channel. We'd love to have you. 56 is a high on Thursday in May. Whew. It's not ideal. So yesterday, Virginia Tech gets caught up in another controversy of a canceled game. Now, I looked into this, and apparently it wasn't just Virginia Tech. It was a lot of power conference baseball programs canceling their midweeks that were supposed to be played today because of what they say is, big conference series coming up. But what it is, and Tech's one of those teams that feel like they're on the bubble for an at-large. They don't want to have their RPI destroyed. In other words, Marshall put out a statement yesterday, which is interesting, that a school actually put out a statement about their disappointment. So I'm guessing there was some things going on a little promised and not delivered, right? Let's put it that way. So with Marshall, they were supposed to have a home finale with Tech today. It was a sellout at Jack Cook Field, right? Marshall beat up on Tech in Blacksburg. I think it was like 13-4. And it's very interesting. This is the athletic director at Marshall, Gerald Harrison. It is disappointing. Virginia Tech opted out of traveling to Huntington for Tuesday's game. Return game. This is a contract. This wasn't just a one-off. Regardless, I want to thank Herd Nation for purchasing your tickets, parking to root on Herd baseball. And when an AD puts that out, that's a shot at the other school's administration. Now, there's a lot of people. It's the same reaction I got from too many Tech fans. Look, no matter what you say, Tech canceled JMU because they didn't want to play JMU. No other reason than they didn't want an in-state school who's a non-Power 4 to maybe come into Blacksburg and beat James Franklin in year one. You can throw in all these other things, but that's what it was, all right? They made their choice between VMI and JMU. Then you had all this controversy with softball. Now, I know that's not necessarily their fault, but I'm hearing two different stories, right? Either they're a top 16 team and the NCAA screwed them over because they found out about hotel availability ahead of time, or Virginia Tech contacted them and said, hey, look, I don't think we can host, which I can't imagine a school would do, right? I know the hotel situation is likely legit, right? I'd say that's 100% legit, but still, in my opinion, Virginia Tech softball is clearly a top 16 team. They were trying to throw out their numbers, their RPI, and all. And now this with the baseball yesterday. And I saw other programs. And this goes back to something I've talked about a lot. I don't understand the midweek scheduling, especially as you get late in the year. Midweeks are strange anyway in college baseball. I've called a heck of a lot of them. And very, very, I won't say none of the time, but very few times do you get engaged in a midweek game, unless it's a rivalry regional game, because it's basically used as a game that counts in the standings as a practice. And what I mean by that is you watch any box score from a midweek, a lot of teams, we've seen them come into Radford, and we've seen Radford teams, current and past, right? You're going to throw a pitcher in an inning. Sometimes in those games, you use 8 or 9 pitchers. And a lot of it's the back end of the bullpen, right, that don't get a chance during the weekends that matter during conference to throw a lot. And sometimes you put in substitute players, guys who've been working hard with you in practice and doing all these things, and you'll put them in a game like that. Very rarely are those games competitive. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're not. I understand doing it out of conference, like when you're trying to get games built up, whether you have weekends or you're going to travel and you don't have to worry about a conference schedule yet. I understand trying to get a game in. Sometimes teams will play 2 midweek games, a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Then they go into their weekend. And then I think these coaches get stuck realizing their pitchers or starting pitchers may be overused a little bit, and they're going to need them for the end of the year when they look at the standings or they look at their RPI, whatever it might be, or their conference, and go, wow, what do we need to do to win, to get into the tournament, to make it into the NCAA tournament, our own tournament, or the NCAA tournament? What's up, Morris? Good to see you. So it's interesting to me to see Tech embroiled in yet another situation regarding this. And I doubt we get any clarification from Virginia Tech, but Marshall wanted to get it out there that, hey, this wasn't us. Marshall beat them 13-4 in Blacksburg. Marshall's a pretty good baseball team. Now, John Sheff, the head coach, was asked directly about the game the day before, because I think the rumors started circulating on Sunday. And Sheff just threw it all in the administration. Sheff said, hey, that's not my call. Talk to our administration. Somewhere along those lines. You're like, wow. So I don't know what's going on over there, but that seems very strange to me. We've now had these 2 things that have happened. Softball thing's not on Tech at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm pretty upset that, from a fan's perspective here, Tech fans don't get a chance to see this wonderful team. I know they didn't win the ACC, but they're really good. And I saw somebody trying to put it on Pete Demore. They're not playing here. I'm like, what does that have to do with the head coach? You don't think Pete Demore wanted to host a regional? Come on. But just go to X and look. I mean, you look at Kentucky had to defend itself. They canceled its rivalry game with Northern Kentucky. It's a rivalry game for Northern Kentucky, not necessarily Kentucky, but it's a big payday when Kentucky goes to their ballpark. When Virginia Tech shows up at Marshall's ballpark, it's a big payday. Oh, Truth is sick. Uh-oh. So we won't have Truth today. Live YouTube. No worries, Truth, if you're watching. Sorry, man, I'm under the weather right now. Not feeling great. Wonder if we'll be able to reschedule. We'll reschedule you, Truth. You're good, brother. You're good. So we'll have Truth on later on. So today, now, Marva, Brian, and Mike Byrne. But see, that's what we do. We roll. We understand when people don't feel good. And I can tease a little bit more once you get to meet Truth. But in any event, midweeks are always a little strange to me, calling them and knowing what coaches, they have a plan in place. A lot of times teams will come to the ballpark and we'll get a message in the booth and we're going Johnny Allstaff. We're going Johnny Allstaff today. That means they're going a pitcher and inning. You're like, yeah, Thunder, that's the take. And that seems to be accepted. Andy Bitter chimed in on it too, and we'll talk to him about it on Thursday. And, he looked at the radius around. And what it is, it's not for fans. I think people are saying, well, fans can deal with it. This is about the teams who would come to your regional. There'd be 3 other schools that come to the regional, and you can't stay more than 30 miles outside of the destination where the games are going to be played. Well, it's Virginia Tech graduation. These hotels have been booked up for months. And the only ones that they could get would be ones that would be outside of that realm. And, baseball team's a pretty large travel group. You can't just go put them at a Super 8, especially when you're going to be there usually for 3 nights. And this is softball, which is, not quite as many as baseball, but softball, you're going to have 20-plus travel party. And they have to have appropriate accommodations. So that's not on Tech at all. It's bad timing just when the regionals hit and when graduation hit. It feels like it was different this year. So we, being Radford, we had our graduation the May the 1st weekend. I had thought Virginia Tech's graduation was usually the next weekend, but it's not. It's 2 weeks later. I don't know if I'm just wrong on that or the calendar changed. Maybe somebody knows. I don't know. Morris, where's your salvo? I'm a little disappointed, Morris. We didn't get the opening salvo from Morris today. It hurts, man. It hurts. It hurts. So, I don't know. But hey, you know what? I understand completely why Marshall's upset. It's a huge payday for them. And they probably feel very good that they would win the game. And when you have a fan base that responds to your team and they're coming out and they've bought all those tickets, well, now you have to refund all that. It's not an easy thing for an athletic department to have to deal with. So I believe, T-Bird, that it is strictly because Tech doesn't want – in other words, if Tech plays that game, they likely lose. Marshall's really good. I'll say they have I won't say they likely lose. They have a 50-50 shot of losing that game, which I know people say, well, not true in most games. Yeah, but usually not when a P4 school goes to a non-P4. And that would absolutely destroy them. That would destroy them. So they're not going to play that game, I believe, because of that. Strictly because they're fearful that it might hurt their RPI. And I believe that's what these other Power Fours are looking at. I haven't done the research of how many canceled yesterday. I don't know how many people canceled. But what I do know is at least the first 2 that I've seen, Northern Kentucky's competitive, pretty good. And I know Marshall's good. That both of those P4s are canceling against good teams. So, anyway, Tech is dealing with that again. And I don't know whether we'll get a statement. I don't know. Let me look. Now that I say that, let me look and see if they released an update on that. No worries, Truth. We'll get you on next week. Truth Harris will join us next week. I hope you feel better, brother. Take care. Take care. Let me see if Tech released a statement. I don't know whether they did or not. It just says it has been canceled and will not be rescheduled. Tech last minute, some of the comments decided to opt out. Tech fans are angry too. That's the thing about it. This is what Marshall sent to their fans. Unfortunately, Marshall's Baseball Tuesday home game with Virginia Tech at Jack Cook Field has been canceled. The announcement came after Virginia Tech notified Marshall officials on Monday. Wow. That they've elected to opt out of the contract for the contest. So Tech's still going to have to pay to get out of this game. As this concludes our home schedule, we want to sincerely thank you for your continued support of Marshall baseball. So there it is, and that's the actual letter from the from Marshall. If you can see that or not. Well, it's going to be backwards. You can't see that. Never mind. So, yeah. Marshall beat them 13-4 March the 3rd, by the way, those of you that are asking on the professional door text line. So what this is an RPI thing. And it's nice to see Tech fans are not happy about it either. That's good. That's good. So there you go. Oh, here we go. From the PGA Championship just outside Philadelphia. Donald Ross is probably looking down, smiling and thinking, I created a golfer's gym in spite of the location being in an American toilet area. Yeah, I'm just going to come out and say it. Philadelphia is the worst city I've ever been in. I've spent a lot of time in Philadelphia traveling with basketball. People are not nice. It's dirty. The only thing cool about it to me was seeing the historical things that were there, the Liberty Bell and the Rocky statue. Other than that, the Philly cheesesteaks. Yeah, Philadelphia. It's just innate that they're all rude. I don't know what it is. Sorry, Eagles fans, but not a knock against your team, but that fan base. Whew. Yes, LeBron gets swept. They lose Luka, who's the real star of that team by far, or at least the by far best player. Of course, ESPN's going to prop up. What we're going to get now from ESPN, I'm sure, is lamenting the fact that they have to continue to cover the playoffs without the guy that they want to prop up. You watch. There'll be more coverage to LeBron being eliminated, and what's he going to do? Like, who gives a damn? He's 42. He's clearly not nearly the same player. He couldn't do anything to keep his team around against the best team in basketball. OKC is going to win the title again. I don't even follow the NBA anymore, and I can tell you OKC is going to win the title again. What's up, Christopher Lester? Good to see you, brother. So, Truth will not be with us today. And again, he's sick, so we'll get him back on. So we'll get your thoughts. What you think about Tech canceling last minute against Marshall? You know, and you spend money on marketing and things like that. I don't know how the contract reads. They all have those kind of qualifications in there. If you have to cancel, if you do cancel, the canceling school. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, Matthew. Not a fan of not playing scheduled games out of fear you may lose and it'll hurt your RPI. Then don't schedule them. Yeah, as you get toward the end, be smarter about it. There's a lot of cancellations of these midweeks. It's weird. It's weird. Not just here, but everywhere. Like, it's strange, isn't it? We talk about scheduling set in stone in football. You got your schedule, you got your 12 games, you're playing them. Basketball, you got your usually 31, 32 games, you're playing them. Baseball and softball, man, if something's going on, you need to cancel, rain, cold weather, yeah, we're not playing. We may or may not make them up. Likely we won't. Morris says, I was assigned to the U.S. Navy mothball port there once. Holy crap, what a dumpster fire. They have really good pubs. I think they have the oldest pub in the country there, if I'm not mistaken. We went there. That's when I was working at Tech, calling the women's basketball games, working with for Bill Roth. And, we were at that point, Tech was in the Atlantic 10, so we were playing Temple, St. Joe's, people like that. Well, this is saying the White House Tavern in Newport in Rhode Island is the oldest. How about oldest? I thought there was one in Philadelphia. I remember there. Somebody might know. Y'all might know more than me. The White House Tavern. There it is. No? Broad Axe. The Broad Axe Tavern. Anyway, so they have a lot of good pubs there. So apparently they're lying about being the oldest pub. That's 100% correct, Prometheus. The actions, what we look at is actions over words. No matter how much you try to prop up everything that doesn't make money, this would have made Marshall some money. They had sold out that game. Now, how much, I don't know. But they would have been in the black instead of the red, right? They would have made some coin. And they still are, because Tech's got to pay to buy it out. And I doubt they play anymore. And that's what thing about this, the repercussions of this. Tech and Marshall is a great home and home. It's, you're not far apart or too far apart to travel. It's dumb. It's dumb. But yeah, if they ultimately mattered, you wouldn't just flippantly cancel them. 100%. 100%. No, I don't know much about him, Heath. I don't know much about the assistant. People think it's a pretty good hire. Megan Duffy hired a new assistant. So, yeah, I think it's getting pretty good reviews. Megan's pretty sharp. She's going to bring good staff. She's going to do a good job with her staff. I don't worry about her long view, other than the kind of money she may not have to try to keep that program, But then again, we don't know how much that entails in women's basketball. I'm not sure. It's not as much as men, but it's still something that they have to consider. So now Tech's at the center of another cancellation. Now, Whit Babcock's an outgoing AD, so I don't know if we'll get any kind of comment. I doubt we will. I don't know if John Sheff will make any more comments. He's already commented on it, put it all on the heels of the administration. I find that difficult to believe, to be honest with you. I don't believe that's true. And to be honest, I don't think a head coach should be saying it that way. He had some input. They didn't just go pull the rug out from under him. They didn't just go and say, hey, coach, we're really concerned about your RPI. We're going to need you to cancel that game. No. Canceling the game also means less play reps for players who are not yet starters. Yeah, when difficult situations arrive, that's just avoid them. That's the message. What it feels like. That's what it feels like. It goes back to the JMU cancellation. You know the reasons why. We don't need to create reasons that aren't real. Well, they were locked into a certain time period. They had to cancel the game. No, they didn't. We've heard it from all of our experts here. We've heard it from Mike Burnham. We've heard it from Bill Roth. We've heard it from Andy Bitter. We've heard it from David Teal. We had Matt Rohn on. He wasn't happy. JMU was too much of a threat early in James Franklin's tenure. Let's just say it. Let's just say it. You don't want to believe that? Okay. You don't have to. But that's why the game didn't get played. Explain any other reasoning why you're not playing James Madison if you didn't think they had a chance to come in and beat you. Because that game would have been on national TV. Or at least regional TV. My guess is it would have been on the ACC network. And I would have thought that would have been something that you would want to really propel James Franklin's first season in the Blacksburg. Sandman, the team who's been the best team in the state the last couple of years. Part of the national playoff, new coach. National recognition, coaches on both sides now with Franklin, Billy Napier. There was a lot there that you could market to get people very excited about the new season. Tech chose the path of let's put a team out there where it can beat 68-0. It's a missed opportunity. Why run from it? And in my opinion, it was a good chance to play them because they're going through transition. They just lost a hell of a lot of players. What is the JMU MU? James Madison University. Subscribe, like, and share, by the way. So now this with baseball. Tech wasn't the only one. So this isn't just them, but they are part of this again. It's part of this again. Marvel will join us coming up. What's up, Logan? No, Truth can't be with us today. He just texted a little while ago. He's sick. We'll get Truth on. We'll schedule him either probably for next week. Truth Harris, you're going to love to meet this young man. You can look him up. He's going to be playing overseas. He's a former Highlander. Terrific young man. And he went with Darius Nichols and Shane when they left Radford to go to LaSalle. And he ended up being their starting guard. Really good player. He's got a lot of charisma. He's very smart. And he's going to do well fitting in. I don't know. We'll find out exactly what league he's going to, but he's got a professional contract. I'm thrilled to death for him. We had him in our broadcast production intern program for 2 years. He did a wonderful job. He did everything. He did stats. He did camera work. He worked in the truck. I mean, he wanted to learn and grasp because I think he wants to make, broadcasting, whether he's a YouTuber, whatever it might be. I think he's got his own podcast now still. And whenever young people come to us or come to me and they have an interest in this field, I mean, that's what I'm there for as administrator, is to help them as much as possible. We did the same thing with Keon. And now he, because he's very talented, has taken it and run with it. Now Keon always gives me way too much credit. It's all Keon Brown. But same thing with Truth. I mean, he's got that. He's got that. But he's not done playing basketball yet. And as a matter of fact, he and no relation, but he and Josiah Harris, Darius just sent me the video. They walked back to back at the graduation. I wonder if I can play that for you. Yeah, Wayne, we talked about that yesterday. We did. Today we're talking about Tech canceling their game last minute against Marshall. Let's see here. Well, it's too small. You're not really going to see it. But anyway, Truth and Joe go back to back graduating. Both terrific guys, and it made me happy to see them get their degrees. So, but we'll let you know when we reschedule with Truth. I'd like to hear what Bud Foster thinks of cancellations off the record. Yeah, me too. Hey, maybe we'll get that chance. We're going to start lining up things with Coach, I believe, in June. Yeah, that whole, Wayne, we've been talking about that whole reasoning. It's weird. It's weird. Both. Tech's now developing a trend, right? They've now developed a trend in their actions toward games that might be hard. Look, no matter what you think, that's why those games were canceled. And I thought it was interesting that John Sheff decided to throw the administration under the bus yesterday. Yeah, they canceled Marshall yesterday morning after the game was announced as a sellout. They had been marketing it in Huntington. Marshall beat Tech 13-4 in Blacksburg. Tech feels like they're on the RPI bubble. You know, that, hey, they could get an at-large if they do a little bit of damage in the tournament. So they canceled the game. Marshall very upset. The Marshall AD, I read the statement, put out a statement. And when an AD is sending out a statement, that's a pretty strong signal. Usually it's fans, it's writers, pundits. But when the AD of a school says, this is extremely disappointing to find out this morning that Virginia Tech has decided not to play our game in Huntington on Tuesday. It's tough to defend. No matter how thick your maroon and orange sunglasses may be, that's tough to defend. Also, we scheduled the Salem T-ball team. I think it's a good move. Just not going to play it. They're just not going to play it. Not going to be rescheduled. Tech will have to pay. And I doubt you're going to see Marshall on any future schedules, which is really a shame. So you're not thinking long-term here. That's a great game for Tech to play. It's a home and home every year. They've done it for as long as I can remember. Marshall's usually very competitive. And now Marshall has to issue refunds on all the tickets that were sold. It creates a lot of hassle for them. They lose that money. Again, I don't think it's like a treasure trove of money, but they're still going to lose that money. I guess they'll send an estimate of the cost, and that's what Tech will pay back. I don't know. We won't ever get any of those details, and we'll see if Tech decides to say anything other than what John Sheff said. But when you have neighboring schools like that, I just don't think that's the way to go about it. Not that late anyway. If you were going to think about doing this, why not let them know a few weeks ahead of time? It's a possibility. Why not let Marshall know enough ahead of time to where maybe they would go, all right, if you don't want to play at our place, we'll come there again. It's not fair to them, but apparently when something gets canceled the morning of, and apparently from the looking of the statement, there wasn't a lot of discussion about it. It was just Tech saying, yeah, we're not going to play. Yep. No, not going to do it. Bye. Hello. Morris says, I love those coaches that say, we will play anybody, anytime, anywhere. Franklin and Witt apparently did branch off that tree. Well, I don't want to rehash it, but it's a massive miss not to play that JMU game number 1. It's a massive miss. It's a lack of, you're protecting yourself is what you're doing. And I understand the thought process to a certain degree. Yeah, pay Marshall, but Tech needs more money. Yeah, you're going to have to pay. And you know what? That's a great point, Matthew, and I forgot to make it. Marvel will join us here in a little bit. Does that encourage donors when you see this? If you step back, and we've been asking why would people continue to pour money into this endless sieve, into this endless sieve of barrenness. Let's fill the oceans of as much money as we can. We just need more. Does that encourage you as a Tech athletics supporter to see what happened with JMU, what happened with Marshall, even though it's a non-revenue sport? Does that make you want to support and have faith that the right decisions are being made? A lot of people are going to say they don't care. And that's what is relied upon too much. I got a lot of pushback. I'll get it today. As the day wears on. Who cares about James Madison? You're always defending James Madison because your friend works there. Yes, my friend does work there. He might be the Virginia Tech athletic director in a year. It has nothing to do with it. This is just being honest about it. You may not want to be honest about the situation because you don't want to see your school in that light just in this situation. Tech's not the only one to do it. But to bury your head in the sand and act like, well, no, this is perfectly understandable. It's not. It is what it is. I don't think so, Wayne. They haven't forgotten about JMU. I know it's baseball, but this is a ding. Marshall and people like that will not allow them to forget. And it'll come up again and again whenever this happens again. But just because people might forget about it doesn't make this a good decision. And I think that's part of the reason they're thinking that too. Well, in about a few days, nobody's going to remember all this. Well, and what about the Tech players themselves? I wonder. Like, I know from a Radford perspective, when Alex is looking at the weather or they have something unspeakable happen, like when we lost Joey Riccuti, that was an easy call, right? They were supposed to play 2 games in West Virginia and immediately, actually it was actually West Virginia who reached out and said, look, if you need to cancel these, we support you, whatever you need. And Alex said, thank you for reaching out. We were going to have to cancel. You're not necessarily running this by the players. And that's a different example. But I'm just saying, are the players even thought about in this? They've been looking at the schedule, and you've got younger guys. I said midweeks what they're used for. Midweeks are used for one thing. Midweeks are used for getting young guys in there. I mean, you want to win the game if it's a Tech Radford or a UVA Radford or a Tech whomever, whatever it might be. Look at Wayne defending the decision. Wow. A little surprised. New AD can just schedule a game in Morgantown for basketball. Maybe. It takes 2 to tango. And Tech doesn't seem to want to play West Virginia in many things either. So, joining us now on the program is that young lady. It's Marva in Miami. Oh, that smile melts my heart. Good morning, Marva. How are you?
Good morning, Rick. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, first of all, how was your Mother's Day?
I had a very, very nice Mother's Day. Went to a very special breakfast. I had lovely gifts. It was a wonderful day.
Well, did you get the breakfast in bed? Did you ever get the kids rattling the pots and pans in there in the kitchen?
No, we didn't get that. But we went to church on Sunday, and our church had a Mother's Day breakfast.
Ooh.
And it was really nice. And it was just the moms got to sit down, and everything was served by men in the church. And it was a really sweet program, and it was just a good day.
Well, good. Well, you've earned it. I know what a great mom you are.
So
there you go. All right, so let me ask you about this. We're talking about this with Tech canceling the game. Have you heard of UNC being involved, anything like that? I don't know what sport. Do you remember somebody's canceled out of Chapel Hill, or UNC's canceled a big game like that? I don't recall them opting out of a game. Maybe they have. I don't know. Maybe they have. I don't follow.
Nothing is coming, to mind immediately. But I know these things are sometimes something might get blown up that's going out way in the future. Now you've got me curious. I want to We're doing a quick search because nothing, like I said, nothing immediately is coming to mind. But I know that's always, when you see that happen with programs, it's always very disappointing for fans.
Yeah. They're getting paid a lot of money. These coaches are getting paid a lot of money. John Sheff makes a lot of money to coach a program that loses a lot of money. So, and then when
I'm
you just
not
can't
seeing anything immediately, but yeah, you'd have to. Someone else who may have more time can look, but I'm not seeing or nothing.
Wayne says Carolina avoids East Carolina in football.
Well, Carolina's played East Carolina.
In football?
Yeah, Carolina's played East Carolina in football. I mean, it's not like it happens all the time. I don't even remember the last time it happened. But, that's what ECU fans always say. They say that the bigger schools in the state, like Carolina, won't play them. NC State won't play. They like to say that. But I can't remember the last time they met up.
Tech and East Carolina had a series, too. If I'm not mistaken, Tech got out of that series, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody remind me if that's true.
Tech is deciding it wants to. It's rebuilding with a new coach. Give them some time. I'm sure they'll be putting these teams back on schedule.
Somehow I don't think they will. Somehow I just don't think they will.
Maybe. It could happen, right? Let's see. Tech's going to build up this program, and then they're going to say they're too big to play.
Those games. Could happen. It might happen. Yeah, it might happen.
This is May. All football fans are hopeful, right?
Yeah, exactly. Carolina baseball is number 2 in the country.
I know. That is really exciting. They've only lost 9 games. It's super exciting, and really have 2 more series, wrap up the season, a couple weeks in Raleigh against NC State. So that should be good. There's a big rivalry there with the Wolfpack in baseball. So I'm excited. As again, my offer still stands. If you want me,
we're trying to raise some funds to send you. We are.
You're having a bake sale, a big dog.
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can get you. Get you sent to the ACC tournament. Wouldn't that be great to have you and your fam there? You could have your daughter with one mic. And
I would love to go. And, we keep talking about this, like my family in baseball. And it's now, the kids are counting down the days until school is out. And I'm saying, guys, once school is over, we got to get in there to go see our Marlins, which have slipped a bit. They're now behind.
The Marlins are struggling a little bit. Yeah.
But Rick, it's a long season, and there's still a chance to turn it around. And I'm excited. I have to see, what works with our schedule, which team we can get to go see the Marlins play. But yeah, we're excited. It's summer, right? It's baseball time.
It is baseball time, and I can't wait till you get to a ballpark.
I know. I'm so excited to get us.
That's going to be fun. That'd be a lot of fun to see you at the ballpark.
It's a lot of fun with the kids, and it's just it's kind of a cool thing to do. It's like so many other things are so expensive. And I mean, even the Marlins, it probably costs more than you'd expect, but still it's a fun day though. It's a fun day to go out there, have some ballpark food and just enjoy all the festivities, because Miami always makes it a party. So
you guys are supposed to play UNC Wilmington today.
Yeah. UNC Wilmington.
And then you've got the series on Thursday with
to wrap up things with NC State. Yeah.
I haven't seen Carolina issue a statement of cancellation. You're traveling, if I'm not mistaken.
Are you talking about to Raleigh?
Yeah, you're going to Wilmington. No, to Wilmington. Like I'm just, saying, here's the number 2 team in the country traveling to Wilmington 2 days before a big series against State, and they're not canceling.
Well, I mean, baseball also is different than football when we have to.
I know, but Tech just did it yesterday morning to Marshall in baseball. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, a sold-out Marshall Stadium. Yeah.
I had not heard that. Oh, my goodness. I thought you guys were talking about some sort of future football series. What was the reason behind that?
The reason is they're afraid. Marshall beat them by 13-4 in Blacksburg, and it would really hurt their RPI if this late in the year if they went on the road.
Oh, my goodness.
And You know,
that is not fair. I'm sorry, that's not fair.
no, it's not. It's dumb. It's silly, and
And it makes you look bad because you look like you're scared, right?
correct.
That's bad.
You have it scheduled all year, and then you wait until the morning before without any prior conversation. That's the thing that's got me a little.
Well,
Sometimes you'll get together with a coach a week ahead of time or a
Mhm.
couple weeks out and say, "I don't think we're good." Okay, well, thanks for letting us know. We'll see if we can find another game, or maybe we. But to do it that quickly,
Wait,
when
you
Marshall,
can't find another game.
no,
What was the official excuse though? The official reason?
we didn't get one. It just said, Let me read you. See what you think here. You're the best news person I know.
Read the statement.
Let's see here. Let's see if there's an official statement. Here we go. Virginia Tech's May 12th. Hang on. Virginia Tech's May 12th baseball game at Marshall has been scheduled to play at Jack Cook has been canceled. The game will not be rescheduled.
Oh, wow. Nothing else.
That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's
That's going to leave a bad taste
That's
in
it.
fans' mouths, and
That's it.
they're not going to forget it. I mean, you talked about they were embarrassed, but that's just sometimes that happens, right? Even good teams, sometimes it's not your day. You get blown out. What do? You dust yourself off. You go back and you get ready for the next game.
Yeah.
That is that's bad. I usually try to find if there's some kind of silver lining, some kind of good. But I can't see anything good about that. And in having goodwill with your teams that are regionally close to you and that you have somewhat of rivalry with, that's bad.
Wayne, Virginia Tech initiated the cancellation of the ECU series in 2018.
Okay.
So the hurricane approach. Let's just get it out there. And then 2018, as the hurricane approach, East Carolina didn't want to play out of safety concerns.
No, that makes sense. It sounds like a valid
because it was a hurricane. It was a natural disaster threat. You're not going to. First of all, the state's not going to let you take your players to that.
Right.
Virginia Tech wanted to wait until 3 days before the game to review the storm predictions before making a call. Tech then got frustrated and canceled the series in 2018 and told ECU they would not be traveling to Greenville in 19, 23, and 25. And after months of negotiations, and after the North Carolina governor at the time, Roy Cooper, got involved, they resolved the dispute. So there you go. There you go.
Well, that's sad. I mean, you're right. If you try to play a game or take your team and then something happens adversely to them because of a natural disaster, I mean, people would be in an uproar. I'm surprised Tech wouldn't understand.
Yeah. Well, they're getting criticized. They're getting criticized. And it's not even if you don't want to play the game, I understand there are reasons why, but to wait that late.
Yeah. I still think you should play the game, though.
What message are you sending your players?
Yeah. We don't believe in you.
We're supposed to be saving this to go to – we don't want to hurt our RPI because we think we can win a couple games of the tournament and make the NCAA tournament, but yet we don't think you can go to Huntington and handle a midweek and win a game you're supposed to win.
That's what I said. We don't believe in you. You're not that good. We don't believe in you. That's what it's sending. And I just wondering, how does this happen, though, Rick? The coach goes to the AD. Like, how does this happen?
The coach said it was an administrative decision, quote, out of my hands. He threw Witt and everyone under the bus. That's the other element of this that's interesting to me.
Do you think that's really what went down?
No. I think the coaches make those decisions. The coaches look and see. They didn't have somebody over their shoulder saying you should cancel that game. Now they have to agree to it. They're going to allow their coaches to make that decision.
Right.
But no, I know how it works. I know how it works because I know what happens at Radford when we have discussions of games having to be canceled.
Right.
It's the coaches who initiate it. And then when they get to a solution, then they bring it to the AD. Here's what we've talked about. Here's what we decide. And then boom.
Wow. Well, it's just.
But no, I don't think Whit Babcock.
It's really unfortunate.
Whit Babcock did not say, you're going to cancel that game, John Sheff. No, that did not happen.
I see that if someone is saying they don't get enough eyes or for people to really care, because So the
Is that
AD
the point,
the
though?
AD would always go along with it. Is that maybe what that person is saying? The coach says okay, but if
But
it
it's
were
a
like
mindset.
yeah,
What it does reveal is an example of a mindset
mm,
that
yeah,
exists around an athletic department.
hmm it's sad. I mean, if this happened with a bigger sport, then the whole country would be talking about this. You know,
Like it did with the football
yeah,
cancellation against James Madison. Correct.
everybody would talk about because it's you know I hate it though for the players because it does send a bad message to them, and who knows how that's going to affect them going forward. To know, coach doesn't really believe in us, no matter what coach
Yeah.
might say. So.
Yeah. Yeah. You watching any of the NBA playoffs?
A little bit here and there, not a whole lot, but a little bit here and there, and I've been keeping up with it through reading. You know, I saw that the Lakers got swept, and everybody's like, I'm not laughing. I just don't. Yeah, when the LeBron said, he doesn't know what's in store for him, in the future. Who knows? I mean, if I can't imagine though this would be it. I think he wants to play some more, even though obviously he
I
can't
don't care.
do.
Does anybody care? Who
Yeah,
cares?
I don't.
Right?
But I mean, I just
ESPN
think it's
cares.
kind of
ESPN
interesting.
cares.
It's interesting, because of the way things have changed now. That I think it's great that players can, in some cases, have much longer careers. Because of advances in medicine and players do. Like he's known for having a ridiculous regime he keeps up with his diet and stuff to be able to still do what he does. And you still sometimes you see flashes of it where he looks like the old guy.
Well,
And it's just
you
kind of
gotta
interesting to
take care
see.
of your body to flop as much as he does. Yeah.
Rick, see, you got me. Why have you got me in this place? I don't want to be in this place. I don't want to be in the defending LeBron camp. But I do think that's interesting, and it allows us to get to see some players longer. And some of it is, of course, the regime he keeps up, which is just people say is very ridiculous with his eating, very meticulous about everything he eats. But also, some of it is the luck of the draw. I mean, you look in the Eastern Conference and you see what happened to the 76ers, and you look at their superstar, Joel Embiid, and he's just been plagued by injuries. Like he just seems like
He's
he
soft.
has bad luck. But I mean, also the man had abdominal surgery and he admits he came back too soon. Like I think everybody knew you should not come back that soon, but he felt like he had to do it. And he had some performances that were great and some that you could tell he just didn't have it physically. And so it's interesting for me to watch it and see how people are so excited and up on New York. New York's going to do this. New York's going to do this. We'll see.
Are they the best team in the East? I guess New York is right now the best team in the East. Is that New York?
I mean, I think, Detroit would have something to say about that.
I'm pulling for them because of Javonte. Yeah, I want them to win because of Javonte.
So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with them in Cleveland now. Cleveland tied it up, and I don't know. I think it should be fun. I think it should be fun to see who is able to pull this off in the East. Yeah. So I will be watching. Like I said, I watch some. I don't watch every game, obviously, but I try to watch a little bit of it.
What about? Because the answer is a big no for me. Have you checked out the start of the WNBA season? Wow, I can't believe I'm asking that question.
But I follow it more like I've been reading a little bit about it. I don't know, but I will pay it some attention a little bit later on. It's just there's a lot of things competing right now, Rick. There's a lot.
I know.
But I will pay attention a little bit later on to it. But I've just seen some of the reports and then some of the highlights, and so yeah. But that's the most they're going to get right now. Give me a little time. Give me a little time. I'll be there.
Update me now. Are either one of your youngins? Are they going to play? Are they in sports? Is your son starting
not right
to get
now. Not right now.
No? Okay.
My daughter, she's very into dance, and she told me she wants to try track and field. She would love to try it, but right now she does dance classes 3 days a week, and I said I don't see how this could work. How you could do. Because down here the track is like Monday through Friday. Some of the teams are Monday through Friday, and I said we'll keep that in mind. Maybe we can make it work down the line because she would love to. My son did it briefly, and so she would occasionally go to practices, and she just really got into it and would like to give it a try. And so we're going to try to figure out how to make it work, but it's just really hard with dance. My son is not right now. He's just like, he seems to show a little bit of interest in something. And I say, hey, do you want me to sign you up for this? He's like, So I'm hoping that he will do something again, because I do think he has some talent there, but he's just, he doesn't want to do it. So.
Should your daughter miss her budding soccer career? She got off to a
No,
rousing start.
She's never said anything about that. She does not want to go back there.
Who told you that was going to just be a fleeting thing, right? She was going to wise up and go.
It's a lot of kids, though. There's so many
soccer.
kids I see that they're into that when they're really young. Because I think a lot of kids these days, that's becoming kind of their first sport. And they get to run around out there and they have fun.
They do get to run around. That's true.
They do. They run around. It's good exercise for kids. I mean, I will give it that. It's good exercise for kids. But neither one of they didn't want to stick with it. Like, she did at least do 2 seasons. My son only did 1. So.
Only did 1?
Yeah, he only did 1 season with it.
Kirby. Hey, this is a question for you, Marva. Thanks, Kirby, on our professional door text line. Ask Marva, how much does she miss being in the news profession? Look at that. People paying attention to our conversation.
And there are times I do miss it when I see something really exciting going on. There are times, and I feel like I'm kind of still on the periphery of it, because I work for a magazine now and I do editing. So that's some of it. It's not exactly like news, because it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of it's not topical, but I'm still like working with words. I'm still, shaping things like that. So it's fun. But there are times I miss it, and there's sometimes I certainly don't. Because, like, for example, we live here in South Florida. When I was working in news, if there was a call for a storm, that meant I had to get my plan together for how I was going to work, or was I going to spend a night at the station and all of that stuff. And it's just a part of the life, and you get used to it. And now if there's a storm, I'm figuring out, okay, let's make sure we have our supplies here at home. I'm going to be hanging out here. Or, if it's bad enough, like we're going to be evacuating. So it's very different. Instead of running to the thing, I can run away from it sometimes now. So that's nice. But
you can run away from it. That's a good point. Yeah.
I do miss, there's some things though I miss. Like, there's a big event and I'm thinking, oh, that would be so fun to cover that or get to talk to those people. But at the same time, like I said, I can walk away. There's yesterday, I hope it's out now. I don't even know. It's about 20 minutes drive from here. There's a wildfire, which you would not have heard. It's not big enough to make national news. It did affect me driving home the other day. I had to go around the long way, not the short way. And I'm thinking they would be sending me out there and I'd be talking to firefighters and, great people. It's not like I don't want to talk to them, but you come back, you smell like a fire. It's not, now I can say, oh, that's interesting, and just drive in the other direction. So there are pluses and minuses, Rick.
I understand. Yeah, that's the kind of story you'd have had to have been if you were working down there in Miami somewhere.
They'd say, "Oh gosh, you got to get out to that fire.
Get out to the location."
People and talking to people who live nearby. Are they worried and all this stuff? And so, it's
here's your hazmat suit.
No hazmat suit, but people, I don't think the fires in Florida, they don't make as much news as say the ones out in California because they're not as devastating. But it's not unusual for us to have wildfires, and it's not unusual for you to be driving along and you see smoke or smell smoke until we go into the full rainy season, which will be coming up for us soon, where we're going to get a shower every afternoon. But right now we're in drought conditions, and so
I know we are too.
It happens. And so it can be a scary thing to see. So I'll be glad when that's over. But I'm also, like I said, I'm glad I don't have to run to that now. I don't have to, or there's some, like I said, good and bad things. This is a while back. I don't know, just to share a story time, but
it's fine.
I was working for I was still doing news, but I was covering education. And so I was working for a publication called Education Week, which is based in the Maryland area. But this is before COVID, but they already had people who were working remotely. So I was working here. I was out on maternity leave with my son, I believe, when the Parkland shooting happened. And I was glad I was on maternity leave then, because those are some of the saddest to go and talk to, like, parents who are worried out of their minds and then trying to piece together what happened. Some of that stuff it's brutal. And some like people you talk to after awful situations like that, they stay with you. And so I was glad I was watching that one. I got to see him, and I was thinking that's so bad. That is pretty far north, but not too far north that if I had been, they would have said, get up there, go talk to those people. And that's why I still appreciate it when I see people doing this thing, because I know how hard it is. And I know people, you sit in your car afterwards and you get so emotional, but while you're in it, you can't. You have to be, have a job. I want to be respectful, but I do need to talk to people about what's happening here. So,
yeah, I mean, that's tough. I know we both had to be involved with, I think you were down at the station time when we had the, 911, right? Right. We all had to kind of adjust everything we did.
To the airport like that day. And I just remember the airport there is not super busy, but still it was so eerie. Like there were very few people there. There are few people working at like, how they have like little stands and kiosks where you can get food or whatever. It was just, that was a rough time, but it was also to see where everybody was working together and trying to support one another.
I know.
A horrible situation. So you get in that, and I still have friends who are still doing it, working in those tough situations, covering awful stories, and it's like I said, it stays with you. It's like anything involving kids for me. Like there've been like some minor cases of like school violence or and when I lived in Orlando, I covered the Kaylee Anthony case, a little girl who was, her mom, Casey Anthony, was on trial for her murder. And I covered that case, and that still sticks with me. My friends and I who were covering that we still think about that little. And because that one it was such a crazy story. It was on national news all the time. I don't know if you remember it. And it was very, very sad. Very sad.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. It was, you think about it, 25 years ago, the country was so unified, right? 25 years later, we couldn't be more fractured. Now, if that happened today, now people would be defending the terrorists.
Well, I don't know about, I don't know. Like sometimes I think our unity is a faux unity. Like it's easily fractured. So I don't know, but I do think we did see that after 9/11. We did see people, because I think our sense of security was broken because yes, our country has been involved with many wars, but it'd been a long time since it had been brought to our shores like that. Yep. So I think it was, I just remember after we finally got off the other day and I went home and I was trying to sleep and I had trouble sleeping because it was just very unmoving. Like, well, what's going to happen next? It was very hard to calm down and like, I've got to go to sleep because I got to do this again the next day. And it was very, very difficult. I hope to get up to New York City and see the memorial. I've heard that the museum is just really touching and incredible. And I hope to get up there to see it. We took our kids up to New York last year, but I felt like they were, especially my son, he was just too young to go there and understand it and just a little bit too young. So I want to definitely go and talk about, what happened and how bad it was. And so I have friends who've been and they said it's very, very touching. It's amazing. And it's also how touching it is, but also how careless some people can be, because you've got some people there who are like taking selfies and stuff and not showing proper respect. Because like this is more than just a museum memorial. It's also for a lot of people's burial site. So that behavior is inappropriate. But people, especially people who, a lot of these people, they weren't even alive then. They don't get it. They don't.
Correct.
And so they need somebody to help them because they don't. I'm trying not to be overly critical because they just don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're exactly right. Are you guys lining up any big trips?
Well, we'll be going to North Carolina as we do pretty much every summer to visit family. We'll be doing that in July, and we're trying to plan something else in August. We don't, have that fully set yet. Maybe going out to Texas. My husband's family is having something in Texas at some point, so we may be doing the rounds. Maybe visiting family, and may have something fun planned outside of family.
Road trip to Texas.
I don't know about road trip. That's so far. but we may be.
Oh, just load the kids in the car. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
We've done long road trips. We used to go to upstate New York from Florida. That's a long haul. We would stop.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We would stop. So we're used to it, but we're thinking if we go to Texas this summer, we're probably gonna fly.
Like go ahead and fly. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Well, you're in Miami. You're the destination. You live in the destination a lot.
Where people want to go.
To Miami. Let's go on vacation to Miami. So you already had a vacation spot.
Yeah, we got a vacation spot, and about 4 hours north of us is another big family vacation spot. A lot of people want to take their kids to do the Disney, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, all that stuff. So we get a lot of people coming in.
Well, it's good to catch up with you. I'm glad you had a good Mother's Day.
I'm sorry. I just want to respond real quick. Wayne was asking, do I want to make any opinions known on the case?
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's hard for me because I had to live without not say, but I just want to say, again, to this day, still very surprising about that situation, and very, I will just say, an odd family. That girl was surrounded by a very odd family, and I'll just leave it there. Very odd family and very, very sad situation.
What was the result of that case? I don't even remember.
The mother was found not guilty of, and she walked.
Did she really?
Yeah, she did.
She walked?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because remember, she had been serving time. Like there was something, maybe she found guilty of some minor thing, and she walked. So
that's crazy.
I think if you Google her name, every once in a while she comes out with something. You think she did keep a low profile for a while, then she kind of came out again. So I'll just say an odd situation.
Horrible.
Yeah, very horrible.
Scenario. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, have a great week. Give my best to everybody, and we'll talk again next week.
Okay. I will I always look forward to it. And someone
asked, we?
Yeah, Harold Carolina girl ended up in Miami. I ended up in Florida for a job in Orlando, just real quick. And then I met my husband, and my husband was down here, and that's how I ended up down here in
Miami. Yeah. She left us here in the NRV to go meet her husband in Miami.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the exact timeline, but
pretty good for you.
There for now.
I guess it turned out pretty good for you. I guess it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Even though he's a Cowboys fan.
But I know. What can you do? Nobody's perfect, though, right?
You got there's certain things you got to overlook. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, certain things.
All right, Ms. Marvin, enjoy your week.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Tara Bass said hi. All right, be good. There you go.
We'll
Marvin, Miami. Good stuff from Marvin. We love Marvin. Marvin's great. All right. We want to thank Family Fencing, sponsor of our studios here in Reiner. Thanks to them. Reach out to get a quote today. Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic, 155 Walters Drive over in Christiansburg. Brian Siegler joins us coming up. We're going to do our bash at the NRV Super Bowl, 540-382-5525. Coach Elmo's confirmed. Jen is confirmed. Burnup is going to really try to be there. This thing's going to end up growing and growing, I think. Reach out to Terry at the Super Bowl. Get your lanes reserved for the weekend. Lawson's Mobile Home Supplied since 1997. 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give James a call at 540-381-8011. Sundown Electric down in Elliston, thanks to the Smith brothers. One of the best reputations of any business around. They have nothing but positive reviews. They keep the costs down. They're always communicating whatever might be going on. ReadySetFund.com. That's Bob Christ, the brother of Dave Christ, a legendary Blacksburg High School football coach. ReadySetFund.com. BOBCRST11 at Gmail. If you have any questions about how your organization, school team, whatever it might be, can raise some money. Floyd County Softball, $4,300 in 5 days using that series of text messages. Travis Williams up in Dublin, Professional Door Incorporated, residential commercial garage doors, sponsor of our text line. Our exclusive banking partner and my exclusive banking partner, National Bank, member FDIC. 35 years I've been using them. I've been talking about just refinanced with them. They were great. If you are frustrated with your bank, you should give National Bank a try. The attorney, Ryan Pry, one of those Philadelphia Eagles fans. Fan question of the week. We don't have a fan question of the week. 701 West Main Street in Radford. Wayne's good at that. Wayne, what's our fan question of the week? Little River Heating and Air, Charles Lee and Company, 540-553-2971. We have a couple more cold spurts here, and then we get into some warmer weather. So get your heating and air. Make sure it's good to go, your units. And finally, we are presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Thanks for Tim Miller coming on yesterday. All sorts of wonderful things that are happening there with Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. My goodness gracious. It's always wonderful things happening when this gentleman joins us. He's Brian Siegla from the Boundary Corner podcast. What's up, Brian? Good to have you back, man.
What's up, Rick? Sorry we couldn't make things work last week, but glad to be back in this chair with you.
No, that's all right. How'd your wife's surgery? I'm not trying to be invasive here. Everything okay with her surgery?
Everything went well. Recovery is going well, so blessed over here. Good.
Well, we're glad to have you back. I mean, not a lot has changed as we settled in a little bit, but Shelton was terrific last week. What do you guys? What have you heard? What's going on now? What are you guys going to be focused on here coming up the next time you all convene with one another?
So we're punching it live tonight. We've got Doug Bowman from VT Scoop coming on. We're going to talk a little bit more deep dives on kind of where things are going with the AD search, with the president's search, and then we're just going to dig into where we are recruiting wise for that 27 class. I know we got a big announcement coming up here shortly with the Peter Bork commitment, so we're just kind of keeping eyes on that and seeing how things progress. But the class is looking pretty good so far. Didn't really doubt that, but it's nice to see it happening in real time versus just having those. It's like, well, 26 wrapped up well. We're pretty sure 27 is going to be okay, but it's nice seeing those commitments come in and kind of looking how we stand relative to the rest of the ACC and really the rest of the country. What's up,
Combear? Good to see you. Brian from Impractical Jokers. You kind of do look like one of those. So
I got to grow this out a little bit to kind of match the vibe, but I think otherwise I'd be all right.
Yeah, I think you fit right in. Well, I know that's become a bidding war for that young man, and that's what probably it's going to come down to. Right? He's probably waiting for last-minute offers to see who's going to come out ahead in that recruiting battle for him. So we'll see.
That's right.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, it's good. And, we found out yesterday, you think about this too, and people forget, and you don't, but I mean, we asked Todd Grantham, who's down at UAB, and he says the average for Power 4, regardless of position, you're going to get at least $100,000. So in other words, any high school recruit is getting $100,000. Like that's the going rate. Now, depending on position, quarterback, all that, you're going to be like, this kid's probably going to get seven figures. It's crazy to think about. That's where we are, isn't it? With high school recruiting.
Yeah, wow. It's really interesting. And, when you think about it, I really kind of wonder how those valuations fluctuate over the course of like a 3 or 4 year career at a place, because, a lot of times you get in bidding wars for these guys that haven't even set foot on campus. Does that number go up as we go year to year? Does it go down? I'm sure it depends largely on output and some of the potential things that they're doing on campus. But it's really interesting. You talk about 4 or 5 wide receiver, potentially getting close to 500,000 in some of these valuations that you see online, and I still take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but it's very intriguing where the money is going, and I'm interested to see, long term, is that a sustainable model? I really don't think it is, but
yeah.
we will see where that thing goes.
Yeah, and I think that's what it feels like, doesn't it? It feels like areas like that where really you're going to have to just sit back and go, what are we doing? How do the players have so much pull that high school guys who haven't even shown they can even handle being college students and play in our program are going to command seven figures? It's just, every time you sit down, your head explodes when you sit back and you really think about it. It's unbelievable to me that we're at this point. But.
And I know we've shifted some of the, the previous arms race was, all the facilities and all these like fringe benefits and, things like, dedicated facilities, dedicated, cafeteria areas. We got the, the little player lounge and
Uh-oh. Sigla, gone. Let me send him an invite. That looked like a power thing. Can everybody still see me? That was weird.
That was odd.
Are you back?
That was odd.
Did you see that? You just kind of.
It just told me something went wrong, and it was like, try again.
On our end, all it was you were just out. It was just weird, man. It was
that was strange. I've never had that happen. All right, we're back. We're back.
We're back. Continue, my friend.
Yeah. So players' lounges. That was the previous kind of battle that we saw. So I know that some of the money that was getting earmarked for that is getting kind of shifted over into NIL now and things like that. But at the same time, you still have to have those facilities in a good place. So you're not fully, moving all that money over into the NIL bucket now. So obviously the commitment from a funding standpoint has went up significantly, especially with this last bid, in 2025, to kind of push those numbers up even higher. But, I don't know if you're going to continue seeing things are going to keep going up, and it's going to be hard for any school to keep up, whether you're Virginia Tech or you're a team in the Big Ten that has a little bit more media money to play around with, or the SEC. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep this up for the next 4 or 5 years. I imagine something between now and 2030, whether it's a complete reshuffle of how we look at the sports that are profitable, or whether it's some sort of other rules that get put in place that can stand up to the legal challenges that you'll probably see as we move along, or whether it's something that comes down from Congress.
Well, right, because we had the Maryland story a couple of weeks ago. They released they're not doing any hire. They let go of people on campus, and it was directly related to the fact they have to budget to pay football and men's basketball. What about coaching salaries? People never seem to talk about that enough. I think those have gotten to the point of just absolute ridiculousness. Alabama, for no reason at all, gave Kalen DeBoer $91 million. Yeah. He had 3 more years. We're just going to extend you out 7 more years. Here you go. I mean, so again, actions speak louder than words. If money is such a big issue, I have a problem when I see them just willing to give out just money that doesn't need to be spent. I don't understand all that. It's hard to understand the whole thing, isn't it, as a package?
The Alabama thing is interesting because who that can pay him more than Alabama was knocking at Kalen's door. I mean, that's kind of the question for me. It's like usually when you see those preemptive extensions, it's because there's callers, and I don't know if he's looking for a soft off ramp that can be a little softer. And it's like, well, if you pay me more, I'll stick around and ride this thing through. But I mean, Alabama's still going to be Alabama, just because they do have the money to make things move. Even in this current landscape, they've just been caught up by a whole lot of these other schools that weren't quite operating at the same level that Alabama was in the 2010s.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know, man. I get confounded by it, and I go to work. I know we're at a different level, and it's apples and oranges. But you go to work at Radford, and I see these real budgetary concerns and how we have to make sure everything's accounted for. And I'm thinking, does this not happen everywhere else? Are they just saying, okay, well, we've got this, but we've got this over here, so we're going to be okay to go ahead and spend that. I don't know how the checks. Maybe Tech's showing us that they're focusing on that now with this, the new Hokie club director is going to be coming in, how they go about hiring the AD. I'm sure that'll be part of your discussion, how much of that's going to be a fundraiser and continue, whereas Witt kind of fell behind in that regard. The new person's going to be, younger and coming in and understanding all that. So maybe that's part of the plan with all these next hires, revamping the whole department. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. And, at some point, either something's going to have to be cut a little bit. There's going to be some smoothing, or you're going to have some harder caps at the player level at some point where, you still, I don't think you're going to cap necessarily individual player compensation, but I think you might have a team wise cap on what you can spend on NIL, even if not every team is hitting that mark.
100%. That makes sense. Yeah. You won't be able to say, okay, well, maybe they do it positionally too. Maybe they'll do it both ways. Who knows? But I think you're right. but I just don't understand why schools aren't taking that directive now. What are these? If the SEC decided here's our cap, if they got together in unison, right, and signed a document, whatever, I don't know what would make it legal, but said this is all we're going to pay. What would athletes do? I mean, they just going to what course do they have to fight back? There's no union. There's no high school union. There's no transfer portal union or anything like that.
Yeah, and I don't know if we get to a point where there's collective bargaining and all that other fun stuff, but I think even when you get to that level, you're probably talking about raising the floor with those discussions more than you are about talking about where the ceiling is. So I think there's still going to need to be some ceiling discussions, if not at the player level, which I don't think we'll get there, but I think like you said, positionally or across the whole individual team, I think you might start seeing some ceiling numbers get put out there, and we'll see how many of those schools actually max that out every year. I'm sure your Blue Bloods will. We'll see if everybody else can match that. I'm sure that most P4 teams will at least be in the ballpark. But right now we don't really have a ceiling, and that's shifting every year, and it's shifting up every year.
Well, getting back to the state of the Tech roster, I know last Wednesday over at the Blacksburg Sports Club, Bud Foster was the speaker, and he said the first thing that stands out about just looking at Tech on the field is the size. They have that look. He said it reminded him of the teams when Mike Gentry was here, and I thought that was interesting at how he pointed that out and said, we haven't had that in a number of years. We might see a few guys, but here you look across the board. If you don't know anything about any of the guys and how they play, you can tell that it's a different look. And I think that is probably the best thing I've heard about what James Franklin has done so far with the roster, turning that part around.
Yeah, and I think it started before Franklin got here, but it's really accelerated under Losi. And when you look at that, and I think the other thing that this Virginia Tech roster has that we haven't seen in a while is truly depth at pretty much every position, where you're not one or two injuries away from your season going out the door. Looking at what we saw last year with the offensive line and the cornerback room, defensive ends last year. I mean, there was a lot of problems with depth on that roster last year, that once one or two injuries or one or two opt-outs came in, now all of a sudden it's a big problem. And especially in those positions like corner and like offensive line, where we didn't have a lot of depth to begin with, one or two injuries, now all of a sudden you're basically a G5 roster at those positions.
Yeah. And it was interesting too, about the defense, just reading between the lines. I don't think he's happy with the scheme that Brent Pry has gone with this personnel. He didn't say that, but how somebody says something and words something, you can kind of tell. But he did talk about there's a lot of athletes, but he did follow it up saying now they got to find football players. There's a lot of new guys. There's a lot of inexperience out there, guys that have to come together. So I thought that was interesting getting his perspective on the defense, because I think he spent more time obviously looking at those guys as the offensive players in his role. So it's going to be an interesting – I think the offense is going to be fine as long as the offensive line comes together like we've talked about.
Yep.
But this defense coming together is going to be very interesting, I think, to follow with Brent Pry coming back as the DC and basically a new defensive coaching staff.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's kind of marrying some of the things that Cephas was doing with what he's done traditionally, whether it was at Penn State or before that. So there probably will be some degree of growing pains, and we'll see if that schematically works out. I know when we look at the safety room is probably the room with the biggest amount of question marks at this point, especially with some of those elements that Cephas was bringing in and how much of that Pry is keeping with his scheme. We'll see how that works out. I came away from spring game pleasantly optimistic with that room, at least. That was the room I was probably more concerned about. I thought a lot of the run fits from the backers and the safeties coming up in the run support. I thought that looked a lot better than what we've seen in the last few years. We didn't really see a lot of shots downfield, whether that was by design or because the coverage was there. So there was a lot of checkdowns. So pleasantly optimistic, but I'll keep a little bit of caution in there as we move forward, just because it is somewhat new for him to be calling a defense with some of these schematic elements in there. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Derek reaching out to you, Brian. How about that on our professional door text line? He says, Brian, first of all, love your podcast. Try to catch you every time you're on BDST as well. Question. I think you and I have talked about this, but I'll let you answer. Which game do you think early in the season is the game that's going to show us that Virginia Tech's on the right track? Thanks, Derek. Appreciate that.
When I look at it, and it's the one road game that I've got circled that I want to be in attendance for, it's that Maryland game for me.
I agree. Yeah.
I think that it's not so much a measuring stick of where the top end is going to be for this team, but I think it tells you that we've got the depth to take a road trip to a Big Ten team and come back with the W. I think that's kind of the biggest early test in the season for this squad. Maryland's not going to be a great team, but they do have some talent, and I think when you kind of look at that measuring stick, that's a good measuring stick of, okay, well, if we can go on that road trip and beat Maryland, we're at least a step up, a big step up from where we were as a roster last year. And I think it gives you something nice to build on as you start getting into conference play moving forward in the season.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's the first road game. No matter what people try to say, it's still a Big Ten team on the road. That's where they are. So it's a Big Ten. That seems like the one to me that's going to tell us a whole lot. I agree. I think that's, you're going to beat VMI. You're going to, I think you'll handle ODU. We'll see. I don't know what they have added to their roster. They lost a lot of talent because they had a lot of talent. We saw that first and foremost, in particular, the quarterback who's now in Wisconsin. But they're going to be well coached. We know ODU, Ricky Ronnie does a really good job. So, but they should be 2-0, and going into that game just kind of feels like that's the one to watch. I agree. So
and I mean, we can call ODU, like we've got to be able to take care of ODU. That's still an important game because we haven't went out there and played really well against ODU consistently. So that needs to be one that you can go in there and maybe, win by 3 touchdowns and beat your chest a little bit and feel good about, because that we haven't done that in the last few years. And really, we've dropped a few of those in the process. So it's been a double whammy on that front. ODU's a team that you should go out there and at least, have a 2 or 3 touchdown spread consistently, especially considering what they lost from last year when they were, they were probably as good as most kind of middle tier ACC teams last year, talent wise. They're probably not going to be that this year. That's one that you should handle and take care of business and, get ready for that Maryland one, which I think is going to be the first big test for this roster in 2026. And
Wayne brings up, have not beaten a non-con Power 4 since 2017. That's still the most amazing stat. That blows my mind that's a true stat.
It's wild because so many of those games you had teams on the ropes and you let it go.
I know.
Whether it's Rutgers, whether it's Purdue. I mean, there's so many of those games where you had a lead late and you just kind of got dog walked in the fourth quarter. Or if it was Vanderbilt last year, you played a really good first half overall, and then you just kind of got whipped in the third quarter to a point that I've never seen a Virginia Tech roster get whipped in one quarter. Like it was awful.
Amazing. And that's where I come on when people ask me all the time, what's your assessment of Whit Babcock? It's a fail because he failed football. I mean, you can talk, I don't care what he failed. The thing he was brought here to keep going after Frank left and that amazing run.
If you're going to put football that far in the gutter, you at least have to have a national championship in some other sport to point to.
There you go. Final Four. Everybody's going to say, what about the Final Four in women's basketball? Okay.
All right.
You know.
Yeah, you've got if your goal when you got here is we're gonna divert funds over to these Olympic sports and try to get a national championship. If you don't get that job done, then you've completely bled your cash cow for nothing.
Right. And now basketball's kind of wondering, where's our money going to come? I mean, they put that in a precarious situation clearly. So,
and I think the timing matters too, because at a time when every other program was accelerating funding for football, we were diverting funding to these Olympic sports and nonprofit sports. And I follow all the sports. So I care about how Virginia Tech does as a whole athletic department. At the same time, Virginia Tech is a football school. If football is not performing well, that trickles down to all these other sports.
Right. Well, the good news for Tech fan, and there are 2 or 3 people that work over there, around fundraising that left Radford to go work in Tech athletics. And they say every day Franklin is pushing the levers. He's reminding people, he does not go by one day without saying, here's what we've got, what you guys said. Let's make sure this happens. Now, that's going to be received in certain ways by certain people, but he is a keeping constant reminder that, I'm here now and this is what I was told. So don't forget about it. I'm not going to let you. So I think that I understand people might get frustrated by that, but I understand that that's probably the way he's already assessed it needs to be handled since he got here, right? When you see other things, and we know Tech's catching up with the big ask from Witt, admitted they didn't have the fund. Jay Pearson just a few weeks ago admitted that they're already falling behind. So he's probably already assessed, well, this isn't like being at Penn State in these areas. So I have to make sure that I'm the voice of it. So I get why he does it. I do.
Someone has to have a sense of urgency within the department, whether that's your head coach, whether that's your AD. We know Witt is, 1 foot into the emeritus role at this point. So someone has to have their thumb on the pulse at all times. And, if it's your head coach, that's great because he is the closest to the thing that you're trying to bring back and make good again. So, whether that wears on people over time or not, I mean, that remains to be seen. But, having someone that is creating that push, I think is only going to, breed good things for the department as a whole and for football in particular as we continue to move forward.
Yeah. Well, so when you guys on again? You going tonight? Tomorrow?
Tonight, 9 p.m. Yep. We'll be live on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. Come check us out. Like I said, we got Doug Bowman coming on from VT Scoop.
Good.
He did a nice piece a couple weeks back on everything with Sands and Witt and kind of where some of the search is heading right now, and things like that. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about recruiting as well and kind of where we're standing in 27 so far.
Okay, Doug does a nice job, so that's good. That'll be fun. So check it out tonight, folks. You heard all the different avenues you can find it. Go watch the Boundary Corner guys. So have fun tonight, my friend. I know you will.
Appreciate it as always, Rick.
All right, man. Glad to hear about your wife too, man. Good stuff.
Appreciate
good
it.
stuff.
Y'all have
all
a
right,
good
man.
one now.
We'll see you next week. Take care, brother. All right, great stuff there from Brian Siegel from the Boundary Corner. They have a great time. They do a great job. Thanks for the questions. Mike Burnip scheduled here at 8 o'clock. Hit us up in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. I saw the comment earlier. Yeah, that's a great comment. When we do Big Dog Pop's going to debut in June. That's not one of the big announcements. I still have 2 big announcements I haven't even made yet. That's the Big Dog Pop will debut in June. Marva being part of it, yeah, I think so. Dwight's going to be part of the first one. If you think Dwight is great to hear about Tech football and all things about the truths around what happens around these programs, when do you get him going about movies? I mean, it's awesome. He's always going to yell at me because I haven't seen Varsity Blues, like Wayne pointed out yesterday. I don't know why I haven't. I don't know. Just sometimes you realize you haven't seen a movie or a show, and you're like, all right, by the way, just to update you, I am watching Landman now. I talked with Big Al yesterday. He called me. I've just finished episode 6 of season 1. So don't give me any spoilers. But I took all your suggestions. I think there were 6, 7 of y'all who said, hey, you need to watch Landman. And I am enjoying it. It kind of got off to kind of a, but now it's starting to pick up a little bit. And Ali Larder. Wow. What's up, Morris? The tech ed mid motto should be, it's hard to soar with the Eagles when you are always around a bunch of turkeys. Well, they're trying. I think James Franklin's, they're not delusions of grandeur. I think he's just got the recipe that he knows that's been successful for him. It's a very brash approach. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It is with people that he works with and people in the department. But at the same time, it's worked. It's worked. And I feel like my thought is, after talking to people over there, he's had time now, plenty of time to assess the climate, to get to know the people over there, to understand he's got an outgoing president, an outgoing AD, a new Hockey Club president, right? So whatever type of influence he's going to have, or he's been told he may have, he's going to have to put his foot down. It's the way he operates. So, and when we find out just a few weeks ago that despite the fact that you've got record-setting revenue coming in, but yet you're already falling behind. I mean, he listens to these things. He doesn't want people to forget what was promised. Karen and I are going next month to see Billy Bob Thornton in the Box Masters. One talented dude, point vertical. Oh, really? Oh, that'll be cool. Yeah, he's good in that. And most of you have already. Has anybody not seen it? I don't want to spoil it for you either, or if you're planning on watching it. So I don't want to talk about it if people are planning on watching it. But I just got through episode 6. Those of you know what happened with his son, and then when he goes back and gets retribution for his son, I thought that was really cool and very well handled. Because it's exactly what I would have done, which is what's great. It's a good show, though. It's a good show. I haven't watched a show. Wow. I don't know. What was the show? Wayne? What was the one with, and I can't even think of his name. It was really popular on Netflix during COVID. Something about Arkansas. They were. Wow, my mind is just. Anyway, it had the guy who used to be on Family Ties. What's that actor's name? Boy, I'm really narrowing this down. Anyway, it had the character Ruth on it. She kind of stole the show. She had curly hair. There we go. Ozark. What actor am I not remembering his name? Jason Bateman. Oh, my Lord. Yes. Thank you, Wayne. See, Wayne's my guide through life. Yes, Jason Bateman. So I tried to watch that. I enjoyed the first couple seasons, but then it just became the same thing and very predictable. And then at the end, they killed Ruth, and it was stupid. It was a terrible, terrible final episode. So I feel, I've been like, I invested a lot of time and I was getting caught and I really enjoyed it. And then it got I would find myself sitting there going, oh, look, more unnecessary violence and leading up to the same. So I'm hoping Landman doesn't turn into that. Give the NRB Super Bowl a call, 540-382-5525. Reserve your lane today. They've added a lot. They put a lot of money into it. Sundown Electric's terrific. The Smith Brothers, a long list of satisfied clients, superior craftsmanship, attention to detail. They'll never surprise you with hidden costs down in Elliston. ReadySetFun.com, Bob Christ, BOBCRST11 @gmail. If your organization, school group, school team, rec team, whatever, needs to raise some money, reach out to Bob. Send him an email and let him tell you about it. Travis Williams, sponsor of our text line, Professional Door Incorporated, residential, commercial garage doors. Family owned and operated, 38 years in business. That tells you all you need to know. His dad built it, and Travis has taken it to a different level. National Bank, member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of me and you two here on the program. Ryan Pry, the attorney. Fan question of the week, 701 West Main Street in Radford, trust and estate planning. Got to get a question. I have a question this week. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg, 540-553-2971. Let them help with, your heating and your air. We're presented each and every day by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Great conversation yesterday with Tim Miller regarding the fishing tournament, the BMX, the update on the Sportsplex. Unbelievable. Mark Hunley, McClellan Chiropractic, thanks to him. 155 Walters Drive, sponsor of our chat room, which always blows up each and every day. Family Fencing, sponsor of our studio. Get a free quote, 540-200-8294. Yeah. Hello, Pavan from India. Yeah, I need to see Tulsa King. Mayor of Kingstown, I've gotten mixed reviews on, but for the most part, very positive. I probably will try to check that one out. If Wayne's endorsing it, I'll check it out. Should Rick see Varsity Blues? I know. Let's do this. What is your favorite all-time sports movie? Boom. Our BDST fan question of the week. What is your all-time favorite sports movie? Send it to me via the Professional Door text line, 391-0788. You can DM me as well. You can tell us in chat. I always have a pen and a little marker over here to mark them down. Your all-time, I'm not saying the best, your all-time favorite. How about that? Rocky. Easy peasy. Rocky 1 is brilliance. They had no budget. Sly was told he could never pull it off. He wrote the screenplay. Watch High Times at Ridgemont High. All right. Remember, the entire goal and theme of Rocky was to not beat Apollo. He wasn't going to beat Apollo. He just wanted to go the distance. And he did. I'm not going down no more. Gus the Pigskin Mule. That's right. He was a kicker, wasn't he, TP? How about I remember that? I remember watching that with my mom and my older brother. Gus, yeah. Remember when they had him in a football uniform? You kickers, all you kickers stick together, TP. Even the non-human ones. Yeah, Don Knotts was the head coach. Correct, Chris. 100%. Without Carl Weathers, Rocky is not the phenomenon that it became. He was the glue. Sly has said the same thing. Said when they first got together, they were practicing some boxing and they talked, and and Carl Weathers was very brash. He had expectations of the movie too. It wasn't just, I'm going to come here and hope you hire me. No, I got things I'm asking too, and they hit it off. They could be adversaries, then they could be obviously best friends. Carl Weathers is, and I've said this before, and I've gotten pushback. He's as vital to that franchise as Sylvester Stallone, in my opinion. And Carl Weathers just seemed like the best dude. Can't believe we've lost him. It's so sad. And I got to be honest, it bugged me the first time I saw Rocky IV. We didn't have internet. We didn't have all the social media. So I went to go see it. And when he got killed, I remember getting up and leaving the theater, man. I was pissed. I did. It really bugged me, man. Bothered me. Rocky's sitting there in the ring holding his head up with the bloody towel. Oh, my Lord. I understand, but yeah, Burgess Meredith was great. Mick was great. First two Creeds are great. First one in particular, Michael B. Jordan captures a lot of Carl Weathers' spirit. Third one's a pile of crap, but the first two are excellent. And the fact Rocky's in there helps. Oh, the soundtrack for Rocky IV. We're right up our alley now, Chris. I mean, it's in my car. Like, it's in my G. I put it. I can hit that on mine and just play. It's unbelievable. The training montages there seem to be a little. The original ones are always the best when he's in the meatpacking plant and he's running up and down the street. But boy, I tell you what, man, when he's over there in Russia and you've got him, oh my goodness. Survivor did a great job. 100%. They fire you up, man. When I was fighting and I was training, I used to play the Rocky IV soundtrack, Jim. I'm not going to lie. I sure did. Good stuff, man. Those movies they're special. Yeah, exactly. You have to, right? Yeah, Chris worked out too. You could blare it too in the gym, and they understood. Nobody questioned it because it was from Rocky IV. You know who else is underrated in Rocky? Is Tony, Apollo's trainer, who later, comes over to Rocky in Rocky IV and Rocky III. Tony, I think his real name is actually Tony Burton, too, if I'm not mistaken. He was terrific. When he goes in there in Rocky IV, now you guys have got me on this. You remember when he goes in, hey, champ, Rocky's just kind of in that mode of, and he says, Apollo was like a son to me. When he died, part of me died with him. But now you're the one. You're the one that's going to fight to show that he didn't die for nothing. Man, I got chills right now. The way he looks directly in the camera, and they show Rocky, and he gives him a hug. You know what you've got to do. Do it. And he grabs him by the shoulders. Do it. Telling you, man. That's a hell of a scene. I don't know if that scene gets nearly as much play as it should, but that actor, Tony Burton, he did a great job. Look at Chris. He's got to do it. See? Yeah, we don't. Yeah. And it's such a great scene, man. In the second one, you're right, Chris. They're sitting around in Apollo's office, right? Or, yeah, in his home, in his mansion, And Tony's there. And he's got all of his people. Do you think I beat him? And Tony looks around, gets up, and walks toward the desk, and there's the statement. I saw you beat that man like no man's ever been beaten before. And that man kept coming after you. We don't need a man like that in our lives, champ. You just answered my question. You know, Apollo goes, okay, well, that means I'm fighting him again. Adrian flirting with Mr. T. Exactly. She brought on the whole thing. I'm going to let Creed out here before we get burned up on. Yeah, maybe we should just focus the first episode of Big Dog Pop. We should just have a Rocky round table night. Think about it. There we go. Tebow says Rocky was filmed in Kensington. That's a place you totally want to avoid. Yeah, I'm sure. We were talking about Philadelphia earlier, too. That whole. Good movies, man. Good movies. And I can watch, in particular, the first Creed over and over and over again. Great movies. The first two are really, really good. Really, really good. It was a good discussion. Thanks to Brian Siegel. Thanks to Marva. We're going to reschedule Truth Harris for another day. Yeah. Truth not feeling well. Truth, you're still watching. I hope you feel better. All right. Joining us now on the program, thanks to Louise Bakers, that gentleman. And how great is my week go when I get to see Mike Burnop in the middle of my week like I did last Wednesday at the Blacksburg Sports Club. What's up, Mike?
How you doing there, Rick? I'm doing well. That was a fun night, wasn't it?
No, it was, man. And you and Coach Foster, y'all did such a great job. I love that format, and I see why it's so successful. You know, you guys just decided to do, you know, kind of the more casual, you know, question and answer, man. And it was really, really good. Really good all the way around.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I mean, I talked to Bud. I texted him, I guess, Wednesday morning. And I said, hey, you speaking sports club tonight, I understand. He said, yeah. He said, you want to come? And I said, well, I hadn't really thought about it. And he said, you know, we could do a little Q&A back and forth like we do all the time if you want. And said, I'd much rather do that instead of stand behind a microphone and tell stories to people that are sitting there and probably fall asleep. So I said, yeah, well, let's do that. Because I knew Elmo was coming. And I knew Louise was coming and you were coming. And I thought, man, this will be awesome. So it's great to see Louise there too, and see Elmo and reminisce with him a little bit. You know, he played William and Mary when I was at Tech. We played against each other. Yeah, talked about that a little bit, and Elmo gave Bud Bud gave Elmo big kudos.
I'm telling you,
how about that?
Yeah, that he got a little emotional too, talking about that time and what Coach Elmo meant to him as developing into the coach that he was. Right, that was pretty cool. That was cool.
Yeah, one of his mentors, and told the story about the old Red Line Inn when he was down there having a few drinks, and Elmo was staying there, and he went up to his room and knocked on the door and opened it up and took one hand and took one shoulder in each hand and threw him on the daggone chair or bed or something. He said, we're going to win.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a great story?
Yeah, it was a great story. Hey, bud, we're going to win. We're going to win. Yeah.
That was awesome.
So that's what we needed to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so funny too it's great to see Dave Brain there too. You know, he's such an awesome dude. Great guy, great AD he was, and Elmo telling the story about a little bit about him. You know, this was kind of before or after the thing was over, talking about how much he meant to him coming in there and, you know, trying to be the fixer, you know, that they need more discipline and all that after that tough season, the 2-8-1 season. And he gave Dave Brain just a lot of love, too. A lot of respect for him he has. And it's just great to see those guys. You know, the people forget good of an AD Dave Brain was, and how tough it was for him to hang on to Frank there when things were tough. Man, he knew what kind of coach he was. He knew what he had, but we want to make sure he hung on to him, and Elmo was a big part of that.
Well, and Coach Elmo was telling me afterwards, and he probably told you as well, that one decision is what set this whole thing rolling. When Dave Brain swallowed hard and said, "You're coming back, Frank. I'm bringing you back. We got to make some changes." And he just isn't successful. He says, Elmo said, he says, Brains told him ahead of, and since then, look, we're both going to get fired if it doesn't work. So let's go.
Yeah.
And look how it changed everything. It's really cool.
Oh, it really did. And Elmo had a 2-year contract, I think, so he was going to be safe because he took a cut and pay, to leave Syracuse to come here at Virginia Tech. And he said, "What am I doing? I'm leaving a successful place up there with a good coach, good situation, and I'm coming down here to try to fix this program. It's 2-8-1." He said it took a heck of a check, took a heck of a chance on it, and took a big pay cut, but got it done, and the rest is history. And I know Bud appreciates all he did, and Bud's been such a great ambassador. 7 years out of coaching, it doesn't seem like that's that long, but man, oh man, that was quite the night. And I love that story too. I always tell that story about we're sitting there after that Wake Forest game, and people, that thing is going like iconic, right? When Frank Beamer throws his hands up in the air, it says 0-0.
Yeah.
and he says there's a shutout, and then they lose. It's like, I said, what do you mean to say? And you're looking at him, you're like, what the F you want me to say?
I know. We didn't give him any points. And I love what he said that. We didn't give him a point. What am I supposed to say? Yeah.
Yeah, and we lose the game in overtime. Oh my gosh, there's some great stories. A lot of stuff, of course, we never got to because he kind of goes long on some of his answers and stuff, but he has a great respect for James Franklin and what he's been able to do, and he was a big part of him getting him here too. Just that being able to go coach to coach, that was I think people understood that a lot.
And he brought that up, and I was going to bring that up. I love that because that was very open and honest. Look, you can talk about a committee all you want to, right? And he said there was too many people on that committee. But who did James Franklin go to multiple times before the decision was made? Bud Foster, right?
Because he knew, coach to coach, you can kind of get the real scoop on that. Bud was out of coaching, even though he was still here and still on the payroll, but he knew he could trust him and trust his judgment and what it was all about. And of course, obviously, Brent Pry was a huge part of it too, because, Brent could have trashed Virginia Tech so easily and said, "Look, you want no part of this. Those guys will stab you in the back. They won't give you what you need." And, Brent was a big part of that too. But Bud said he talked to him, gosh, every day, sometime multiple times. And that was a big part of that thing of getting James Franklin here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Mike Burnett joining us. Thanks to Louise Baker. Looks like you're in a different area. Are you down in the warmer weather, my friend?
Hola, I am. Yes, I am. And the seafood has been fantastic.
Oh, we got to talk about it. So how long have you been down in Florida? How many days now?
I came down Friday. And I'm going to head back, I think, today because I got to get back and get some stuff done. But, man, the first day, Rick, we had some alligator bites, some
You've
tuna
told me about
chips.
those. Yeah.
Those things are so good. If they're cooked well, they're really, really good. And they got these great sauces, this place called JB's. And they got these tuna tips that are really delicious. I mean, you talk about first-class tuna now. You can cut it with a fork and eat these things. You get them like medium rare, and they're just so delicious. You get about 4 of them. They're really, really good-sized tuna tips. So that was delicious. And I've had some grouper. I've had some lobster. I've had some mussels, some shrimp. I had a nice chicken parmesan at an Italian restaurant last night. It was delicious. Yeah, food's been great.
Yeah, you've talked about each of those before. I've never had either the alligator bites or the tuna tips. So I feel like
highly
I'm missing
recommend
out
them.
Yep. I feel like I'm missing out.
You got to get out of that New River Valley.
I know, right? I got to get down there to the beach. That's what I do.
That's right. Get closer to the water.
Well, what's the name? What place is it? Was it a market or a restaurant you always talk about when you're down there? Was that the place you just mentioned? I know it was like to get the best fish or something like that. I can't remember the exact place. I might be off.
There's a place called JB's that's really good, and the garlic's delicious. They've got all a massive menu, great stuff inside there. So that's been good. Yeah, it's just there's some good places here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to Coach Foster and watching him on stage, and he explained his role, and I can't imagine a better person to be doing what he's doing than what Bud Foster's doing right now. He kind of joked about it, I just kind of come by, kiss babies, and shake hands, but no, he's doing a lot more than that. But like you mentioned, the way he can just run with things and talk, and the memory and things that his passion for Virginia Tech. They couldn't have a better person as a special assistant to the AD, could they?
No, I mean, that's it. I mean, I think they recognized that, understood that. He's great out there in the crowd with the public and speaking and doing all those things. And yeah, he does a heck of a job. They gave him a 2-year extension, which was awesome. And so that's good. He was happy about that. And he's going to be around for a while. So yeah, I think Bud's did. It's kind of a similar situation too when Coach Beamer left. He had a 4-year, I think, deal to go out there and do a bunch of speaking and Hokie Club engagements. And you talk about great ambassadors. Those two guys, my goodness, they can go back and tell the story and kind of subtly ask for money and tell them what we need. And Bud was real honest with that group we were at in Tidewater about the fact that we kind of stood still. We needed more resources and stuff, and I think they understood that. Yeah, and so that's a big thing moving forward, and I'm sure that'll be the message that we have when we go to Northern Virginia on Monday. So yeah.
I thought it was interesting. He got right to the point, didn't he, about what they didn't get when the program was rolling and what they felt like they needed to do. Hey, it's great you got to the championship game. I thought that was an interesting story. Okay, well, if you want us to get back, here's kind of what we need, but they never got that commitment. He makes sure he points that out. I think that's very important when he's talking to those folks too about trying to, remind them why maybe we didn't make it to that next level.
Yeah, and he's a big advocate too for recognizing past players and teams. He said, you walk into the Merriman Center, you don't see one picture. We went to 27, whatever it was, 28 Bowls games in a row. He said, you don't see one picture of the bowl teams, the national championship team. He said, we need to fix that thing up there, and obviously that's James Franklin's message as well. That's why they need to, we talked about that. The bones of the place are great, right? James Franklin talked about that.
Yeah.
Because everything's right there, but you need to upgrade it and, get some better stuff in there, more of the history of Virginia Tech and make it feel big time and important. He said, you go to Ohio State, look at their national championship trophies and all that stuff. Man, it's impressive. And same thing at Notre Dame. You need to do that at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, the Notre Dame room is unbelievable. It's intimidating to see. And Tech, they have to do that, right? Come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get with the times in that regard. Yeah. I mean, remember the foundation of how you got there and all that sort of stuff, and some of the great players that you've had, the Michael Vicks and the Bruce Smiths and the Corey Moores, and you go back in time to Carroll Dale and Cornell Brown. I mean, you can go on and on. I mean, you need to recognize that stuff and make it feel big time.
Brian's asking, hey, Mike, great to see you. What's the update? How's Coach Beamer doing health-wise? Yeah, how is Coach? Have you talked to him recently?
Coach doing okay. They moved about a month ago. They moved to Charlotte, sold their house, moved to Charlotte, and he's doing okay. I think he's a little bit he's kind of getting used to the environment there. It's a lot different when you're there, Rick. When he goes to Blacksburg, he walks into a place and people want to take pictures with him or sign an autograph, or, he goes in there and they know exactly what he wants off the menu and it's ready and waiting for him. He sits at the same table. He's got it going when you're there. But when you go to Charlotte, a new place, it takes some time to get used to. And I think it's been a little bit tougher on him in that regard. Health-wise, he's about the same. He's getting frail. He does use that cane sometimes just as a balancing more so than helping him walk. But yeah, all in all, I think he's doing pretty good. His memory's still great. Gosh, we went to his house, during spring practice when I had a teammate of mine come in. They played there with Frank, and we told stories. It was great. him and Cheryl both. It was we had an awesome time, about an hour and a half there with him at his house. That was fun.
Yeah, that had to be priceless, man. Listen to Coach tell stories,
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Has he ever? I know Coach Foster's told me that Cornell Brown, and so did Coach Elmo. That was the guy that kind of turned things around. That was the guy that you get that guy and what he meant and what he continued to mean after even he was gone. Has Coach Beamer ever said that one guy that they needed to get coming in when he was getting this thing turned around? Have you ever heard him talk about specific one or two guys?
Well, he doesn't like to single out one or two people. Yeah, he's like that. He gives credit to a lot of people, but I know he thinks a lot of Cornell and how that was a big piece coming from EC Glass and a local guy. And, things weren't going very well, but you needed that one person to kind of get it going where other guys would recognize that, hey, he's going there, something must be happening. And I think that's why James Franklin's been so successful. And when he's recruited, you get one guy that's a big time player, and these other guys, they know each other from, playing against each other or hearing about them or going to these camps together. And that's a big part of that. I think that one guy can sell another guy.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And, he's come in here and he's assessed things at this point. You got a lot of newness coming in with the AD and the president and the new hockey club, leader and all that. I mean, there's a lot, and he's new as well, if you will. Not a new coach, but obviously new to this area. It's an integral, but also a very exciting time, isn't it, for what that athletic department could turn into pretty quickly.
Yeah, it really has been exciting. And I know as soon as they come back this summer and get going and get cranked up ready for fall, boy, the excitement for that first game is going to be through the roof. And, I know they've already sold out of the season ticket sections and the clubs. All the clubs are sold out. So that's really been encouraging. I know they've offered a lot of different packages, try to get the rest of them sold. So I suspect that probably every game will probably be sold out, which would be good for him. And, if the team responds and plays well, gets through that non-conference schedule, get that momentum going, just like he talked about at Vanderbilt. He told the crowd about that. We went undefeated in our non-conference schedule that year. We won 9 games at Vanderbilt. And he said they weren't that good, but they thought they were good. And he said, the momentum was there. And they felt, they were confident and not cocky, but they knew they could compete. And I think it's important for this team to do the same thing. Get off to a good start and get that thing rolling, get the momentum going. And when you hit the road on some of those early games, like at Maryland and places like that, you can get going. And that'll be certainly a big point of contention, and that'll help be a successful year for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing, isn't it? The mental part, the mental gymnastics. If guys think, okay, we're having success, it influences, like coaches talk about all the time, that you implant that into them. Even though the coaching staff's watching on film going, we might be 3-0, but we're not that good. But these guys think they are. That is huge, isn't it? And a lot of teams develop just because of that type of thing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That mental part of it's huge because, you look out there now, Rick, too. The other thing you think about, there's so much more depth now than there ever has been. And you got guys that can play and guys just waiting to get their opportunity, right? So, if you get one of those situations where a guy's doesn't have his game in tip-top shape or something, give the other guy a chance. The competition's going to be there now more so than before. And so I think you got great opportunities for some of these kids to step up to the plate and do really, really well. So I think that's going to be a big part of it as well.
Well, I like what Coach Foster said. We look the part. You look at the guys, and you can tell it's a different type of player out there. But now, got to find football players. You got to find guys who are going to be the guys now. And that's going to be the task throughout the summer, because there's a big difference in looking the part and knowing you have guys who are going to help you win, right? And I think that was an interesting way he said that, talking about that.
Absolutely. And then you got to show up and play during – when they get back to fall camp, because that depth chart might be semi-set now, but it's going to change because it all goes back to square one. You got a little bit of a starting point, but you got to perform, man. You're talking about 10, 12 days maybe, because you don't have that much time before the first game. And then you got to concentrate on those guys that are going to play and be there in the front line, and they're going to get most of the reps. So, yeah, you better come back in great shape with a good attitude, and then staying healthy is a big part of it as well. As we've seen over the years, that's a big thing. But now, the fortunate thing is you got at least more depth at quarterback, which is the one spot that you got to be good at. And, it's like it's going to be hard to keep all four of those guys, right? Because they think they
Yeah.
can go somewhere and play. And that's going to be a real challenge for Coach Franklin. But it's a good problem to have that much depth in that room, and all those guys be young, too. That's the other thing, Rick. They're all young. And I got more eligibility left. You're not going to have a one and done in that respect.
No, and that's key. It is. And, you're right. You're not going to keep them. That's why people, I know they're recruiting another quarterback right now. They're waiting to hear from. And I'm like, well, you keep adding the same one. That's great. But you're not going to have but maybe one of those guys on your roster in 3 years, But
Yeah.
It's just the way it is now. It's just the way it is right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And before we get off, too, Rick, how about old JJ? JJ getting a Ferrum job.
Yeah.
James Johnson. How about that? Back in basketball.
Yeah.
Coach back at his home.
Coach Elmo's place he used to roam. So
back at his alma mater, Hall of Fame there. So that'll be great getting him back in the fold. And I don't know what the situation was when he left here because he was on the staff for a while and James kept him, but maybe he just wanted to pursue other opportunities, and that was one of them to get back in basketball. So he's got his foot in the door, and hopefully he'll be successful with that.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I'm glad he's home, if you will. Yeah, he's at a place that he wants to be. So,
and boy, since he has he did a great job with high school relations. He'll know where the players are, at least in the state of Virginia and around.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be able to find some Ferrum talent pretty quickly, I would think. Yeah, absolutely. He will. Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Mike. It was great to see you. And as you mentioned, great to see Louise the other night. She was why I was there. She invited me to come. So
it was great to see her. And she kind of looks after those the Beamer sisters a little bit. That's awesome. She's such a good person and does such a great job with that. And God, it was awesome to see her. I appreciate her. She's awesome.
She is. And we appreciate you, my friend. And safe travels coming back. I know you hate to leave, though. I know you got jobs to do, but you're down there. You're like, can I just kind of hang out here for about a month? Can I just do that?
I hear you, brother.
All right, man. Well, be safe. And take you maybe on your way home. You're going to bring back some of the gator bites and just kind of have a snack on the way home.
Yeah, with some boom boom sauce.
All right, man. Enjoy your day. Be safe, brother.
All right, Rick. You take care. Thanks.
Thanks, man. All right, there you go.
See you now. Okay.
Great stuff. Mike down in Florida. I thought it looked like Mike was down in Florida. It just had that vibe to it. Different looking room. That was a great time, and I love that the way Mike and Bud did that. I think that's why that's so successful when they're out, trying to get raise some money for the Hokie Club. Good stuff. Gator bites and tuna tips. Kenny Chesney could write a song about that. Yeah. It's good news about Coach Beamer. Good news. I haven't seen him in a while. I know his health has been kind of up and down, so getting used to a new area to live, be closer to Shane. So makes a lot of sense. I know there's been a book out that he was, turning up the wick, which is a good read, but I hope someone takes the time to really do a nice documentation, on his life, but on his whole professional Virginia Tech career path. I think it would be a deep dive into some of that. I'm sure we would find out some things that we don't know. But you can make this statement, and it's going to be true. Frank Beamer is the most important individual responsible for the economical growth of the New River Valley of the last 40 years. I mean, am I wrong? You got a bypass built. Big Al and I were talking about that. He did everything with class, with honesty. He never cared about accolades. He never let money. He never let ego. Like I say, I could walk around over there and walk into his, yeah, Rick, just go have a seat. He'll be back. Coach knows you're coming. Grab your water out of his fridge if you want. And then would talk to you like you were a national reporter. Never forget the time we were at Media Day 2004. This is just an example. Down at the ACC Media Days, and they had, ESPN radio at the time and all these national people. So he gets out, and Dave Smith, the legendary, who I got to see, by the way, at the Blacksburg Sports Club, one of my all-time favorite people. Dave Smith is the best sports information person I've ever been around. And there was Coach Beamer, and he was, walking around, and he had all these people that were flogging him and trying to get his attention and all that. And he looks over and he sees us sitting there. We had kind of he knew I was coming, and he'd been on the show. This is when he was on the show every week and all that. So I just never forget, there were people there, and they had the cameras rolling and microphones, and he goes, well, hang on. My local guys that cover me all the time are over here set up. I'm going to go do that show, and then I'll come back to you. Would probably never happen today, right? Would never happen today, but he did that. He had national people standing right there in front of him. No, over here, I'll be back, okay? And then when he came over and we doing the interview, people were coming over. They don't give a damn who Rick Watson is. They don't care about Big Dog Sports Talk. And they're all putting their microphones down to listen to him, our conversation. That's who Frank Beamer was and is. And I'll never forget that. It was just, wow. We didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for that. He just did that on his own. Let's get it caught up here. Frank Beamer plus the bypass grew the internet. Absolutely, Thunder. Changed it all. Frank Beamer put Blacksburg in the map. Saw Virginia economic boom solely has been correct. Personally don't like Prometheus says what Blacksburg has become. Correct. Yeah, it went too far. Yeah, it's not a fun place to be for any length of time. There should be a movie that builds, Wayne says, culminates. That'd be good. Now, and it's one of those things, too, where Michael Vick was such a big star that I think people would watch it and be interested in it. Yeah. It was a fun time. It was a fun time to be working over there and to be around it every day. Absolutely. Something about the growing process, the growth of getting to the apex. You play in the national championship game. You have the lead in the fourth quarter. And to stay there in contention for as many years afterward as well was very impressive. Climbing the mountain is always the most fun part of the journey. Staying on top is the hardest. And he did that. Frank Beamer did that. Now, there were varying degrees of when they were actually national contenders or not, but how many times did you see in the rankings? There's Virginia Tech in the top 10. There's Virginia Tech in the top 15. There's Virginia Tech on a Thursday night. Right? They were prominent major contributors during a vital time of college football. And this is why it's so important. It's why they made it into the ACC when West Durham called me during the afternoon show at the time. Hey, do you want some breaking news? Yeah, sure. Lay it on me. They just had a unanimous vote. Virginia Tech is in. Why did the SEC come calling a few years later? because that's what Virginia Tech football was, and that's what Virginia Tech football is capable of being again. I used to serve Frank on Campus Hotel in Blacksburg, 88 to 90 as a waiter. Didn't think twice about him being the head coach. Always a nice guy, but thought he would be gone any day. Yeah, so did he. So did Dave Brain. How about the decision just to say, no, we're not going to pull any trigger on our coach. I got a good feeling. And like Morris said, he had to let go of friends, right, Morris? That was a good observation. You think he wanted to do that? It's really an incredible story. And I don't think there's been nearly as much. Maybe I hope it doesn't take to when he's no longer with us for it to be recognized. But the rise of Virginia Tech football during that era needs to be more fully documented. It was an incredible time, led by incredible people. You could go to any media day that they'd have out on the field. I was never denied an interview request. Players had an appreciation, a humbleness about the program they were walking into. These coaches that were getting raises, that had, success, never changed personality. They were the same guys before and after. They were more determined. I used to have such great conversations with Mike Gentry, who may have been the central piece to it all. Actually, you know what? Coach Beamer and Coach Foster and Coach Dimes, they'll tell you he was the central piece. I'm just going to say they won't. Mike Gentry was the pulse of that whole thing. There's never been a guy like that in that position, and there won't be ever again. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But those guys never changed. Never changed. And that's rare and probably couldn't happen today with media and social media and all this. I mean, we had social media in the 2000s and things like that, but it was a very, very wonderfully unique time in our area. And the hope and promise of a guy like James Franklin coming in is that at least the on-field success, you're never going to have the same vibe or the type of mindset between Frank Beamer and James Franklin, but to get Virginia Tech football back doing what it needs to do and what it's capable of doing on the field, I understand why fans are excited. But it goes back to my whole reasoning, and it's not to try to pile on with Babcock. But when you ask me directly, I'm going to answer the damn question. I'm not going to be dishonest. Do I think he was a success? And the answer is no, because football was not a success. Morris says how I'd see them both downtown smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. All I know is here's all you need to know. And I've told you this story. I know we're getting a little long, but what do we care? I have to take a personal day today anyway. So it's in the summer, I don't know, 2005. And I'm going in, and the show was still it was the last year the show was in the afternoons. It didn't. It stayed in the afternoons for a few years. And I'm in the Kroger in Radford. Coach Beamer's in there. I always got something from the deli and a couple of sodas and took them to do the show. The show was 3 hours, 4 to 7, 3 to 6. There's Coach. Coach, what are you doing? He'd been at the lake and he was getting some stuff. He says, yeah, Cheryl and the kids, they're not home. They're out of town, blah, blah. I said, well, hey, if you get bored, man, studio's right up here in Fairlawn. He'd been there before. I'm getting ready to go and do the show. He goes, oh, yeah, I might do that. Not expecting to see him. Just being nice. I sit down, get the headphones on. I'm eating my sandwich, and I look up and see him pull in his car. I'm like, there's Coach. So whatever we had that day, I remember I'm texting guests, and I said, hey, can we reschedule? Coach Beamer's here. So we sat down the whole 3 hours, and it was just me and Coach. And I wish there's been so many ownership changes at the station, the audio is lost forever. But and he answered questions. People called in, talked to Coach. It was awesome. Who does that? Frank Beamer did that. Bud Foster did that. Came in studio multiple times, unscheduled, unprompted. Yeah, Rick, I'd love to. Called me out on the stage the other night. These are great people that built a great program. It's time for this program to get back to that type of aura. We'll see if it can. Before we go here, Prometheus says, I built Frank's house, and Frank and his wife bought our lunch every single day for 8 weeks. There you go. Cheryl was great, by the way, too. So the bones, like James Franklin talks about the Merriman Center, are good, right? The bones of Virginia Tech football. Those who came before, sure. But the bones that were left behind by Frank Beamer. We're never going to have a renaissance like that again, but this program can make it back to prominence again. All right, good stuff today. Good stuff today. Thanks so much to Marva. Thanks to Brian Siegler, Mike Burnham, and Truth. I hope you feel better, brother. Tomorrow, what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is Wednesday. I don't know about Teal. I know he's at the ACC meeting, so he may not be available. But anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll let you know. I know Coach Elmo's tomorrow. Got his computer back. Gets his computer back today. We miss you, Coach. Good stuff, man. Thanks to you. You and chat make my morning every morning. And those of you on the text line, thank you. Thank you. Subscribe, like, and share the channel. And thanks to our great sponsors who we've talked about, again, a lot today. Could not do it without you, literally. Appreciate y'all. Take care. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.